All right, so this was a question about, and if you see the back of my car, I'm sitting in my car because the sunlight faded and I want to record some of these videos. And obviously, those of you who have been following me for a while know that I travel in the Subaru and live full time in it as I go on this new adventure. Um, the question was, are fairies always tiny? And if you're building a fairy garden with fairy houses, what attracts them? Fairies are not always tiny. that the fairy world is a world of its own, a realm of its own, a dimension of its own, however you want to call it. A good representation of what I see is the Spiderwood Chronicles movie. I haven't read the books. I know the books exist, but I haven't read those. But the movie does a good job of portraying how there are different beings of different sizes in that. You could think of the fairy world almost as a Lord of the Rings-esque world, but Lord of the Rings movies tend to go more towards the um, uh, violent horror fantasy type of side to it. A lot of them are very small. Some of them are tiny, tiny dots, orbs, just tiny, tiny dots that are like pixies and sprites and have human forms and different things that they prefer to look like. And some of them look like insects, some of them look like all kinds of things, whatever they want to look like, however they came into their space. Some of them are giants, some of them are elves, some of them are in between trolls. That whole mythology, goblins, gnomes, elves, trolls, giants, ogres, uh, you know, mermaids, it's all real. The reality of what space they live in is a bit different. Some of them are in the same space, some of them are not. It's all vibration, it's all different dimensions. When I say dimensions, I do not mean conscious dimensions, I mean physical dimensions of reality, of existence, of living. You can actually go to the fairy worlds. You can actually go to these spaces if you shift your vibration enough. You will physically just go poof and be there. Spiderwick Chronicles, again, shows that when they, in the movies, the books are old and the movie's like, I don't know, 15, 20 years old. So if you don't know this, sorry, spoiler alert, but it shows it in how the dad or uncle or whatever he was gets taken and goes to another world, is protected by the fairies, and disappears there and goes back and that sort of thing. It is a world of its own. But it is a world too that has beings that cross into ours energetically and exist in our space. So we can see and experience them, and they can see and experience us. It's like, looking through a window. If I can see you, you can see me, type of thing. Only they can put their hands through the window. And, if the window is more like pliable or something and move things and do things. And some of them can break through and come to this world and do things and live here. So trees are a good example. They're asking me to bring up with gnomes and different beings that live in the trees. The tree exists physically in our dimension, the way we see it and experience it and touch it. It also exists in other dimensions. They are gateways and bridges to other spaces and dimensions. So you will physically see a tree there, and then you won't see anything else. But if you tap into the fairy world, you will physically see a tree there and see houses carved into them, see windows, see other things that are living parts of the tree, that are part of that space in another dimension. You will physically and third eye experience those types of things. I've physically seen the doors presented in our world. It's all part of another space, and it's kind of hard. It can be hard to wrap our minds around because it's not our typical experience. How do you attract fairies, though? Joy, childlike humor. Doug is trying to. So those of you who don't know Doug is my juniper gnome friend who is always with me right now anyway, until I decide to kick him out, which hasn't been any time. He's been here for years. Doug's here. Sally and Sam are running around. and Caroline and her family are in the back. They have a little house in the back of my car. Can't be seen. It's another dimension, but it's there and always like it moves with the car. It's part of the car. Um, and so the fairies are always with me in that sense. And Doug has been seen by other people at events and stuff too, and felt and heard, um, which is pretty cool. But back to how do they do? We'll just ask Doug, and he will say childlike joy, humor, laughter, playfulness, humor, laughter, playfulness, humor, laughter, playfulness, peace, love, flowers, plant healthy flowers, beautiful flowers. Allow yourself to be free and dance, 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 dance. Allow yourself to sing and play music and have fun and bring fun to the space. Bring fun to the space. It has to be fun. If it's not fun, why would we want to be there? If it's not fun, why would anybody want to be there? We wouldn't want to be there if it wasn't fun. Willow is fun sometimes. He's making jokes. And I'm not going to be able to stop laughing because he's like making faces at me and stuff. He's like sitting off to the side on my pillow. Um, yeah, sometimes I'm fun and having fun and flowers. What would you say about offerings, Doug? All the same things you normally say. Okay, so oats. So if you want to make offerings, you can make a dish, a bowl. He's adamant that if you're doing something outside, put a bowl of water out like a bird bath type of thing, but it doesn't have to be a full bird bath. He's saying like a just a bowl. If you have a fairy house, put a bowl of water like it would be the size of a pool for a fairy house. So just like a bowl, making sure there's water, making sure it's fresh water, running water. If you can do it, running water would be even better. If you can have a cycle of the hose spinning around a fountain. Fountains will create sprites, and you can create fairies. You can actually create fairy energies. That's something I should be able to. I should teach at some point, teaching that type of thing. And then, uh, sorry, I got sidetracked because that reminded me of one of my other reels. I need to talk about the creation of tulpas and thought forms and all that. So offerings, oats, berries, honey, fresh baked goods. If you're a baker and you like to bake fresh baked goods, they love that. The house brownies, house elves, the fairies love that. Fresh baked things that you make with love from your heart for those that live inside the house, and for outside the house, things that are of nature, that blossom, that bloom, that ripen, things that do those bright, fresh foods, watery foods. Water is life. Doug is saying water is life. Um, Giving them those things from time to time, as well as doing the more childlike stuff. As he said, what's the point if there's no fun? Why would we want to be there? In attracting wildlife, if you have the capacity to attract wildlife, to put a bird feeder in, to feed the neighborhood animals, keep in mind wildlife can come with issues the way we live if you attract chipmunks or squirrels or all that. But whatever you're happy to attract the wildlife, and they love when nature, that's the key, keeping it natural, lack of human vibration, lack of human physical vibration, and all those electronic types of things. So I'm just laughing because I'm having like, I exist in this world where you might not be able to see on the video, or you might be able to feel them if you're energetically aligned, but I just live in this world where there's a gnome standing beside me, making faces, saying surprise, and jumping around, and like being like having fun is his whole point. Having fun and laughing and enjoying yourself is the biggest thing. And the child energy, of if you have children, and the person who asked this has children, having that child energy involved is going to help a lot. So let me know if you have questions. Love you all. Grateful for each and every one of you. And Doug is saying he loves you too and is grateful. And water is life. Make sure you are embracing water in your life, and not the toxic foods of not water, he's calling it. Love you all.